have to start over.
Just declare we have a quorum.
All right, we have quorum, so we need to approve the agenda. We have a motion.
So moved.
You can have a second.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion or changes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Thank you. Any guests? So now the consent agenda, minutes from last meeting. Do we have a motion to approve?
Move to approve the minutes from last meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or adjustments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Okay, treasurer's report.
The treasurer's report for March is attached. They're the only activity for the month of March were a few typical expenses. That was about $8,000, but there was no other activity.
All right, we have a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Thank you. Do we not have a
We do not have a closed session for this meeting, so we will
just a
just
first?
move through.
I don't think I've ever seen that before. Okay, moving to general business, and Brian, go ahead and take us through that.
Thank you. Falling Branch Phase 2, Site 2. Again, I like to always do the review. We are currently grading Lot 2, Site 2 in Falling Branch. And the current work activity is Main Street Builders. MSP has finished our water line for the park, and they have rough graded the road. So in substantial completion with weather days right now is approximately May 26th. They're making very good progress out at the site, being able to, since early March, actually get pack some dirt, get some lifts in, as it's so called. But in your packet, you have a change order. While there's still, quote unquote, no road there, and it's just packed dirt, we wanted to go ahead and install 5 conduits. 1 for natural gas, which is a 10-inch conduit, and 4 for electric. The electric will be needed on the pump station, which we will talk about, and also will be needed on the fountain for the stormwater pond. They have to have aerators now. And so just go ahead and get that installed now. And then the total change order is $8,745. So this is the approximate location of where the conduits will be, right at the edge of the pad. And it has been approved by the contractor and the engineer, and the EDA just needs to make a motion to approve the change order for $8,745, and you can see the 4 smaller conduits and 1 larger. All right. So the town of I've discussed at past meetings that due to excess amounts of topsoil, we had to go back to the town of Christiansburg and request a site plan amendment. That was approved. Wasn't really a big deal. Took them about 2 weeks, which was great. And so we're waiting on a change order for 24-inch pipe for the topsoil storage area. So this is the approximate location of the topsoil storage area, and all of this, which would be normally just an open ditch, will be converted into a closed ditch so they can store the topsoil on site. And again, nothing needed at this meeting. I just wanted to go over it with you.
But they're working on that change order for you, right?
Yes, sir. Yes. So the town approved it last week, and I asked them to go ahead and get the change order ready. As far as progress in the park, I think it's always good to get an idea. This was back in about August, so our site had a part of a road, and basically the hill was as it is. As I showed last meeting, the blue line is roughly the road bed and the water line, and the red line or square is the graded path. You can see this month the road has been cut in and it's very accessible, and they're starting to put lifts or starting to compact dirt down in this area. So basically this entire area will be one big pad once it's finished. So it's good to have some activity, good to have them moving forward.
Nice view.
And I'll just hit the pump station study update while we're here. So the EDA approved the pump station purchase order last fall of $62,000. Pump station will handle 25,000 gallons a day. And right now, H&P has draft documents. I checked with them yesterday. They have not submitted them to the town of Christiansburg and the pump station will be at the rear of pad 2 with a driving line to FedEx. So here is the finished pad and the pump station with the main line, and then going all the way from the pump station to Federal Express. So luckily Federal Express left us outside of their fence and easement the entire way. All we need to do is connect. So the only action for today would be to approve the change order.
Okay, can we have a motion to that effect?
I move that we approve the change order for $8,745 for the extra conduit.
Second that.
Good. We have a motion in a couple of seconds.
Read
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay.
Thank you. So last month we talked about the virtual shell, and I was kind of going to bring you an update as to where we are. And a few people weren't here, so I'm just going to give it a quick go through on the virtual shell. The EDA at the February meeting mentioned the possibility of a virtual shell. And so a virtual shell goals to shorten the construction schedule by roughly 6 months. You have a full site plan developed and reviewed by the locality, full building plans developed and reviewed locality, the contractor is selected and contract prices developed. When we originally did this in approximately 2004, Phase 1, Lot 2 is the county's original virtual shell, and it was 100,000 square feet expanding to 200,000 square feet, and the cost was approximately $30,000. So this 35-foot clear is a rendering of what the building would look like, and the site plan expanding 100 to 200. Of course, the drawings and the site plans are much more. These are concepts and depth. I just want to give a really an overview. So last month we kind of finished on a virtual building or an incubator, and we really didn't have a direction, and so I guess I wanted to come back with some thoughts. An incubator, like Pulaski County's incubator, requires dedicated staff and annual funding from the county. That's not really a priority of the Board of Supervisors. You're basically putting, let's say, $200,000 a year once it's built, in addition to debt service, to maintaining the facility, in addition to the leases and everything else. You generally have one person on site. Pulaski County has one person in charge of their small business that does nothing but take care of the incubator as well. I don't believe at this point a virtual building is feasible due to fluctuating building material prices and changing environmental rules. So the building material, back when this was originally done, you could peg a building at $60 a square foot for land, the building, everything. That's, right now, if we were to build a building, it would cost about $200 a square foot, and that's depending upon the different political environment that we currently have where tariffs are in place. So I just don't think it is a feasible option. The environmental rules are stormwater. What we do need are available buildings or graded sites. Those are the two things that the Virginia Economic Development Partnership looks for. And so our prospect requests are 55% for a building and 36% for a site. So people want an existing building because they can move in, it's guaranteed. When Moog bought the old Dish building, that building wasn't perfect for them. They did not have a 6-inch concrete floor, it's only 4 inches, and they had to do some interior. It was basically a big office building. But the known quantity of the stormwater, the fact that the building was for sale, allowed them to move forward on a known timeline much more quickly. And so that's really what people are looking for. Again, focus on Branch Phase 3 and future industrial property. So the average acreage request is 23 acres. So we're going to have a 20-acre graded pad on roughly a 35-acre site. And 163,000 square feet is the average building size that's requested. So again, a much larger building size. I thought this would be interesting. Prospects by industry. We have very heavy manufacturing in the New River Valley. Beverage processing, which is not an option for Falling Branch due to the limited gas. And warehouse and distribution, tech and IT. And we're getting a lot of energy related projects. So I guess I just wanted to go through that and see if there was any discussion points that the EDA wanted to have.
What kind of, do we have an inventory of buildings that either are available or may come available?
So Rachel maintains through the Virginia Economic Development Partnership's website. I guess I could show you here, assuming it all works well. So this is our website. Go to Sites and Buildings database. And this is what is called basically a plug-in from the Virginia Economic Development Partnership. And you can look at all the available sites and buildings in Blacksburg, Christiansburg, Montgomery. Generally, there's not any Montgomery County, but all the available sites and buildings that are currently listed.
And that's part of a larger database hosted by the state where you can go to their page on the state page and see the entire state in the same format.
Okay. Just looking, scroll through there, they're all fairly small compared to what your prospects are looking for.
Yeah, our biggest is 16,780 square feet. That's our biggest building right now. We often get requests for 25 to 50,000 square feet. And of course, 100 expandable to 200 is also. Right now, people are generally not building unless they have a signed lease to back it, like FedEx.
Too much uncertainty with tariffs and everything. It's a
Yes, sir.
big crapshoot.
I have a couple of reactions to this. Would you mind going back to the presentation?
Yes, ma'am.
Right, so I understand these options. What I'm seeing here is maybe 3 economic development strategies, and there are many more than that. So I see here incubator, virtual building and basically do what VEDP, fall under the VEDP strategy.
Correct.
But I wonder if we're not considering thinking about what our target industries would be, what the gaps are currently in this region, which would dictate then, well, potentially mean that we could consider an accelerator, which is different than an incubator, that would be industry specific, potentially with the equipment and the rooms that industry needs to kind of fill that gap, which could potentially be like a shared manufacturing facility or a clean room. So I agree with you, I don't think an incubator is the right fit, but I also wonder if we could do more research or study or discussion about specific industry targets or business targets so that we, are being a little bit more specific to what our needs are and not just waiting for VDP to kind of give us a project that we think might fit our land, right? Because I think we're a lot more in this county than our land because we have an excellent workforce, we have lots of innovation. So I think we can offer more than like a site.
So
And I don't see that incorporated into our strategies right now.
you are correct. Right now, Go Virginia, as you know, is supporting, I can't think of the name of the project. They're building a clean room in the Carillion facility. I can't think of the name of the company, I'm sorry. But, you know, Carillion's building that out for use, for their own use and for a company. And that was one Go Virginia project. Another Go Virginia project is Project Vital, where Roanoke City has been trying to get funds to convert the building that they have into a bio accelerator. And I think there was a carve out in the budget of roughly $5 million. And so for that facility, and of course in that project, Project Vital is a very large Go Virginia project. Up at UVA, they are going to get their own building, own accelerator building. So for us to do something like that, the initiative would have to be, you know, we're tapping into local funds, we're tapping into state funds. It will be a very large initiative.
And they're committing $5 million to that down there. That's a big bite.
Roughly. The carve out that they asked for, I think was $5 million. I'm not 100% sure that it was fully approved. I'll have to go back and look, but that was what they asked for. Commerce Park's carve out was cut from $15 million to $7.5 million in Gillespie County.
Do we ever survey, or would there be a way to, I know the CRC's tenant database is public, and I have a lot of inquiries from tenants of CRC looking for more reasonable space as they continue to go up on their rates.
Right.
So is there a way to see what they're looking for, since IT seems to be such a growing sector from manufacturing to IT technology here and with Onward and the surrounding counties, to see what elements of, you know, right now they have typical office space, possibly with a little R&D space, a wet room or something, but are there elements that they're looking for in space that could be, you know, close the gap between a manufacturing lease of, you know, $12 a square foot and what they're paying at $30 a square foot, where then it would make financial sense to tailor something toward, you know, an element that they're missing in those buildings, then your pro forma would make more financial sense. I don't know if you ever, you know, survey them, or if there's a way to do that, or.
Through our existing industry visits, we visit with companies that need AirProbe. Was an example. They built their own 20,000 square foot building on our site. We built a building for Torque Robotics, 20,000 square feet. And not everybody is going to be to that level. You know, what we're seeing in existing industry is they need 4,000 to 10,000 square feet of manufacturing space. And in our zoning in general, light manufacturing is not allowed by right in business district. So if you have a building that's business, you will often need a special use permit, which Nancy did with Meld on the building in the county for electrical manufacturing. So there is a need for the available space. The question really is, who's going to do the space?
So it seems like their needs are kind of all over the place. There's no consistent need as far as clean room data. If there's one theme that, the technology sector, since it's growing, needs in a space.
Generally, it's what I would call clean light manufacturing.
Okay.
You'd have a high bay space that you can drop down, and that's generally what you would need, starting in about 10,000 square foot increments. But, and Angie, if I'm wrong, I don't know what the county's appetite is to build speculative buildings.
We haven't specifically discussed that with the Board of Supervisors, but in the recent past, that hasn't been something that they've entertained. We could bring it up to them.
They wanna see jobs grow, right? So there's many pathways that can happen, and I feel like we're just investigating a couple of pathways. So if we could do some research and see, light manufacturing is a need, there's maybe 10 companies who would expand and add jobs. If we had this light manufacturing space, then that would create jobs, so that might be a strategy. I know traditionally we've done the site preparation, get the big company in, they pay taxes, which is good for our fiscal health, and they create some jobs, but there's other, maybe if we show them, if we look, there's other ways to create and grow jobs that might help existing industry.
And I agree with you 100%. Falling Branch is a mix of 20,000 square foot polymer solution or former polymer solutions, AeroProbe 20,000 square feet, Inorganic Ventures 20, expandable to 40, and then we had 2 lots at the front of the park of 2 20,000 square foot buildings, expandable. So it's the remaining product we have that's large. The FedEx site, and then what we have on Lot 2. We've seen prospects that would want 10 acres, so Lot 2 could be subdivided, and then we could decide what we do in the future. But it's really a result of what we currently own. There are no available industrial sites in the town of Blacksburg or Christiansburg Industrial Park. This is it, Falling Branch, until we start a new park. And the problem with starting a new park is the location is going to be in an area that people from Blacksburg are not going to want to commute to. What we really need is the town of Blacksburg to work with them on some maybe classifications of different sites and buildings for different uses. Like John Oliver has 8,000 square feet of space available, and but that technically is not for light manufacturing. But it does have a loading dock, which these companies do need, drive-through door. So I guess the direction I'm hearing is you want us to do some more research on it.
I don't know, I'm happy to get input from others. I don't want to belabor the point. I think, we have a site, it's marketable, it's big, VDP can market it, but that we have, I guess I've said this 3 times, we have a lot more to offer than just available land. And so I'm wondering if we can develop some strategies that build more on our other strengths.
And that's certainly something that we can discuss internally and discuss it with the Board of Supervisors.
I do think Ellie's right, that it would be helpful to get input from other of the EDA board members.
you don't just wanna keep doing site projects, like, that's fine too, I don't know.
I'm all for it. If any other opportunities there are, we should look into.
Or does VEDP have data that we could, when you have one site left, how to, and take the other, how other municipalities have optimized or strategized when it's so limited, what you have?
So VEDP is unfortunately focused on the locality, bringing them 60 to 70% expansions. And that is occurring on-site, close by. And then they're focused on very big projects, which is north of 100 to 200,000 square feet. We see a lot, but we also see a lot of projects that are not even in the ballpark.
Yeah, million.
You're talking 300 to 500,000 square feet, and our part of the state doesn't sit well for those really large projects. That's why Southside has had some success with mega sites.
You don't have the topography here to even think about something like that, really.
We could get a 300 or 400 acre site. It's just how much would it cost and would they sell it to us? There's a lot of deep history here.
Agriculture, which would also potentially be negative for our economy, so.
And over time, hopefully Falling Branch can expand to a third site. I think that'll give some opportunities.
I don't know how do we proceed with this conversation? Do we commission a study? Do you all do research among staff? Like what's the next step?
I think the next step would us to go back and look at the information that we've received from prospects. Because our annual report, remind me if I'm correct, has basically the projects, but not necessarily the building sizes in it. So we could talk to Onward NRV, we could even ask VEDP, kind of go through our inventory and their inventory and see what kind of projects. If we had a 25,000 square foot building, could I fill it up tomorrow? Probably. But it's not going to be inexpensive.
Could they look at some of the human factors in companies deciding to move somewhere as opposed to just the physical characteristics of the site?
So tell me what you're thinking there.
Like we have an educated workforce, we have competitive advantage in a lot of different industries. I mean, we're right next to the university, we're not,
But they still need a physical,
Whatever county.
they still need a physical site.
but I feel like our non-physical assets would differentiate ourselves from some other rural Virginia county.
It does, very much so.
Sure, but you still have to have a place for them physically to locate. I think that's the issue. If they're gonna put equipment and put a presence here, they've gotta have a place to put it. I think that's the struggle right now. Can we get a place to put prospects that doesn't break the bank? And that's a challenge.
So, you end up having to figure out basically the rent per square foot. It has to be competitive with CRC, which is easy in general. But I would think it would be easy, but I don't actually know if you started from the ground up with, let's say we took one of our pads and we said, we're gonna make a village of smaller spaces out of it that we can do whatever we want with, manufacturing or research and development or whatever. So you're basically pitting that against what the CRC says it is. And we know what their rates are. What would our rate be if we brought it up out of the ground? Would it be competitive? Because I don't know if it would or not.
So a fully air conditioned 20,000 square foot building that's 35 foot clear is $8 million. I've run those numbers for one of our existing industries, and it comes out to about $20 a square foot, amortized over 20 years with our current interest rates. And that existing industry is not willing to move forward at that rate.
I think CRC is like 24 or something, right? Not that much difference.
No, there's not that much difference. I mean, Torque's lease was 16 for office and 5 for warehouse. Yes, we only had a 10% margin above our cost to repair the building, but if you go into a situation, you either have to have, so let's say the EDA, the board's not gonna give us the money, I'm being frank. The EDA goes out, borrows the funds and builds something, then we need to have, and I'm all for building a building because I know we could fill it up, but we just need to, you have to start out very generic, 35-foot clear, around 20,000 square feet, and 6-inch concrete floor. And from there, you would see what tenants come in. You know, it's the fully conditioned areas that get much more expensive. So Michael Abraham has the Threshold Center. He has mixed space of office and, like, let's say 5,000 square foot bay, 1,000 office, the rest is used by a company. There's a 10,000 square foot pharmaceutical company in there that's fully conditioned that we brought him years and years ago. So the need's there, it's just is the financial model working? And that's what we need to talk about more internally.
Well, let's look at it a different way though. You say the county won't give us the money. What if the county gave us some money and we did the rest? Would that lower the price to where we could be competitive? I mean, it's an investment by the county, but if you want the employment, it's not just go out and borrow more money, you know.
I think it's something we have to discuss more than I'm capable of discussing today. But it is something I can discuss more with Angie.
Let's say if we needed, pull a number out of the air, we need $10 million or something. We went to the county and said, okay, you put up $5 million, we'll get the other $5 million by some other means. If we borrow it or whatever we do, but we'll take that part and your investment will be half of it. And then we can bring in this money and we'd have to present a case that said what we projected the tax revenues and things to be from filling it up over time. Like, we can do that. I mean, we can ask.
We can certainly ask.
I mean, I think it's unreasonable for the county to not participate in making it happen.
The county is willing to participate in economic development too. They haven't had this kind of proposal brought to them. They have had the traditional model that we do here, and they support that. We can't locate land that is suitable, that people are willing to sell us right now, but they are definitely interested in economic development and things that make sense to grow our region and bring good jobs. So if we have a different model to present to them, I don't think we are in a position to say whether or not they're going to accept that. They might be willing to.
Then that could potentially make it affordable for tenants as well as us. Well, it's a slightly different model anyway, right?
It doesn't have to replace this, it's just is another thing that we do.
I mean, Torque was an extremely successful model. And AeroProbe has been an extremely, I'm all for small business. It's the model that's hard is 5,000 square foot because your lease rate is going to have to be, well, Bill Sterrett's industrial condos is 15, 16. So
16.
That's for a building built in the 1980s. And so let's say we start now, we're going to be in that 17 to 18 starting off without a lot of upfit. I'm all for it. I would build it tomorrow. But again, we're going to have that discussion.
Okay.
Is that fair, Angie?
Yes.
I think the other thing we have to do is we're going to have to walk away from the biomedical space because that's going to Roanoke. There's nothing we can do about that. Virginia Tech's putting it all down there. Roanoke's, pulling all the strings and everything and try to compete with them, probably not going to work. So we'd have to take everything else that comes out of Virginia Tech, basically. So it'd be software development, widgets, electrical, stuff, computers, IT, those kinds of things.
COVID killed our software development target market. We had a very good one until COVID. Yeah. Right now there's 300 people reporting to Torque Robotics, and they gave up half their office space, and half of it was in the CRC. So they have one 40,000 square foot building that's maybe 25 to 50% occupied, and 300 people report into Blacksburg. And they can live anywhere in the country. All right, so we will.
Chief technical officers in Michigan. So their chief IT guy lives in Michigan.
Well, there's material science too. A lot of that Virginia Tech that we never hear
Materials
about.
and
We never hear from it, but it's there. Chemistry, nanomaterials, that sort of thing. That's not going to Roanoke, so unless it's medically directed. There's a lot of stuff that we could encourage.
Certainly.
Yeah. Of course, the problem is when you go to Virginia Tech, try to get them on board, they go to the CRC. That doesn't help us any. Well, it's usually the first thing they say anyway. Okay, well, I think we ought to keep looking in that direction,
Yeah, the direction.
Thank you, Brian.
Let's see, where are we?
Keep on going, keep on
I
going.
think you're down to DeLorean, right?
Yep, DeLorean Power. So you've got in your packet where DeLorean has an option with the Economic Development Authority to purchase lots 2B and 2A, which is 10.49 acres. So 2B is the leftover acreage that we bought from Mr. Teal years ago behind United Therapeutics, 6 acres, and about 4.89 acres here on 2A. And what DeLorean Power's model is 1 megawatt storage containers for power. Dominion has done quite a bit of this over time to meet Virginia's environmental requirements for clean energy. Right now, Appalachian Power is studying it. Last year, DeLorean performed a phase 1 environmental site assessment on our property. So I think should, quote unquote, Appalachian Power be ready to move forward, then they would be ready to move forward, and they've got an excellent site. But to bring you up to date, they owe us $20,000. They sent a letter on the 1st that said, yes, we're going to renew. The check is quote unquote in the mail, so we're waiting for the check in the mail. And then $25,000 next year, and 2027, $30,000. If they don't close, the EDA gets to keep all of that money. If they close, then it goes towards the $679,000. What I could see happening is a renegotiation in 2027, depending upon whether Appalachian Power really feels that moving forward with this model is a good model.
And we think the decision point is with Appalachian Power, not with DeLorean.
Yes, sir. In every discussion I've had with DeLorean, they're trying to get ahead of where Appalachian Power might want to do. Like our substation can handle about 130 megawatts of power, so they can pull off that and do the storage, charge it during the night and release it during the day to try to cut off some of the capacity issues. Appalachian Power has to move forward with the program in order for a company to do it. And the last thing is broadband, so I'll let Carly bring you up to speed.
So I've got confirmation since we did this slide. There's actually 1,589 active passings now, which is 174 more than when we met in March, and that's 1,002 in value 2021 and 587 in value 2022. And so Gigabeam and AP were able to complete a cable bypass at the 8th and final railroad crossing that was impacting Valley 2021, which is great news. So basically, that one remaining AP crossing, Gigabeam had already done the crossing there. So AP spliced into Gigabeam's infrastructure at the crossing and then spliced back into their trunk line of fiber on the other side of the crossing. So that will serve the apartment complex that's across the tracks for the time being, and then when AP gets scheduled, they'll run their own fiber, so they're not reliant on Gigabeam's fiber. And so Gigabeam has placed 284 miles of fiber in Montgomery County. AP, in addition, has placed just over 36 miles of fiber in Montgomery County. And then right now, AEP is testing fiber service area, one of the fiber service areas, OLT9, that contains VATI 2021 addresses. They estimate that'll be done by the end of this week, so once that area is turned up for service, that will be an additional 330 passings. And VATI 2021 can be closed out at that time, so.
We've been waiting for that for a little while.
And they'll have 1,302 serviceable units and VATI 2021, which is 10 over the project requirement, so.
And then the Near Valley Digital Opportunity Plan, is that moving forward?
I think we could have some of the slides. I think this was from last time, so there's no update to
I
that.
don't have anything, yeah.
Do you know who's installing cable between Christiansburg and Radford right now? Does that have anything to do with this?
I'd have to look at the area, but I know
It's on Route 11.
it could be Xfinity. I've heard. I just hear, and if it's like Xfinity, then I hear it from citizens calling to see if it's us, and then they find out it's Xfinity. So, could be them, but Gigabeam's everywhere too. So.
All right, so the next meeting scheduled for May the 20th, and I sent out an email. I'm gonna be out of the office, traveling that week. Wanted to see if June 10th would work for everybody's schedule. We need to be in this room, or in a room where we can do a recording and live broadcast. So this room is the best suitable. I got one no, I got one yes.
You sent out an email?
It's in the agenda email for this month, it's at the
The
bottom.
one I didn't read. The one that I knew what it was about, so I didn't read it. You wanted June what?
June the 10th, Tuesday at 11:30.
Good for me.
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
So we've got 5.
Should we look at another date?
Well, June 3rd, but you'll be in the Board of Supervisors room. That's the only other date.
I'm unavailable then.
Excuse me?
I'm unavailable June 3rd.
What about June 17th?
Well, that's our original meeting date.
I mean, that's when
I'm gonna be out that day.
I've got about 10 site visit trips booked, and I booked them around our existing meeting dates. So that's the meeting I had on my calendar, so I can't do the 10th, but you all will still have a quorum, so.
I don't have anything on the 10th, but I remember somebody has told me that they wanted to do something that week. But it didn't rise to the level of an actual schedule yet, so I'm available.
I'm trying to avoid the 17th because my daughter's getting married on the 14th.
I don't have to get married, do you?
So if we could do it the 10th, that would be greatly appreciated.
I can do the 10th.
All right, we'll make that the day.
I feel like that's very fair.
So there's no May meeting, no meeting in May.
No, ma'am. The May and June meetings will be combined into June 10th.
Is there any way we can look at another day?
Certainly. I mean, this isn't fixed in stone.
You can,
We can,
oh, Eric said he can't do it on June 3rd, right?
Right.
24th.
which is,
I could do the 24th.
May 24th of June.
June 24th.
we're thinking June 24th?
It's fine with me.
So basically, just be canceling the May meeting.
I can't hear.
If we moved it to the June 24th, we just wouldn't have a May meeting.
No, I mean, that would, we'd essentially eliminate the May meeting. I mean, the options for May would be the day after Labor Day or that Thursday,
Memorial Day,
Memorial Day, thank you.
the 27th of May.
This room is available on the 24th as of now.
Anyone not do the 24th of June?
Love the 20.
Can we set that then? That way I don't miss a meeting.
I can do it.
Okay, can we do that then, Brian?
What
June
day?
24th. Our
June-
next meeting would be June 24th.
June 24th, folks?
Appreciate it, thank you.
Okay, so we'll cancel the May meeting and go to June 24th.
And just as a reminder, that will be our annual meeting where we'll approve the budget for the fiscal year and we'll do election of officers.
Does anybody want to be on a nominating committee? Or are current officers interested in staying on for another year?
I'll do it if somebody else doesn't want to, I'm happy to stay on.
Generally, the chair stays on for 2 years, but it can be one rotation.
Yeah, I can do it for another year.
Count me in.
All right, that eliminates that issue, so
So
we'll.
you're the nominating committee.
We just did it.
Easy, call it Chase. And I think that is it. Okay, so June 24th, we'll send out a confirmation. And hopefully, we'll be almost done at Falling Branch.